All right. We're going to do Aang versus Korra. Avatar. Conversation. It's not a debate. It's because Avatar combo. Aang versus Korra. Avatar combo. Who's stronger? Now, this is, of course, me not watching Legend of Korra. I did not watch Legend of Korra. I watched Aang, The Last Airbender. All right, so welcome to the Graffiti Jungle. Paulo Pulingue. Benvenuti nella giungla di graffiti. Questo è Impastore Rockstar. It's the fake Rockstar chat show. Pensieri Tangentiali. Formerly known as Tangential Thoughts chat show. Shout out to my co-host and doggy Heaven Bailey. Podcast We Cigar Talk podcast. We've had 62 cigars this year. Next time we sit down, hopefully we'll be able to just push it on out there. 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 61. I gotta get used to it before you want to mess it up. Mess it up now, maybe mess it later. Anyway, so I had, a quiet space all to myself, and I wasn't sleeping. I was just sitting and just watching video here and there, and the ears are ringing. But I was just watching videos, and I watched a couple about who was stronger. Avatar Aang versus Avatar Korra. Now again, I've only seen clips and bits of Avatar Korra. I have not truly seen Avatar Aang. Well, I haven't sat down and watched the whole Legend of Korra, but I've watched Aang. I've watched it, and so it was who's stronger, right? It was like a couple. Like, I actually watched a couple shorts. Same thing. Who is stronger, Avatar Aang or Avatar Korra? Now, I was just gleaning the comments section of, Avatar Korra. Well, okay, which videos? Okay, I actually watched a long time. Okay, I watched a couple videos. One video I watched was deleted scenes from Avatar. There was like a whole pilot scene that has allegedly been scrubbed, and it was like, I'm pretty sure y'all have seen it. I was like, no, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. There's a pilot episode of Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender, and it's like with the person in the video I was watching, they were saying that it was like a pitch to Nickelodeon, like, okay, this is what it is. But some of the stuff didn't stick, and there's like this fight between Aang and the lore. It was like a fight between Aang and Zuko. And one of the things is, now this was actually kind of sort of cool though. It was like one of the things he was mentioning, so in this fight, Zuko takes down this giant serpent monster or whatever. Mind you, the whole episode never, it's not considered the whatever. It's a pilot episode that was never, and it was scrubbed. It's not even whatchamacallit. I don't know where to find it, but I'm pretty sure somebody could find it somewhere, right? But in this episode, Aang and Zuko fight. And when they fight, they're fighting on this statue, which things are alleged. They're not, concrete or anything. But they're fighting on a statue, which would seem as if Zuko was building a statue for Fire Lord Ozai, his father. But bringing it back to that, Zuko takes down this giant serpent monster or whatever in this, and one of the reasons was because, apparently, if they would have stuck to, some of the original plans, and this is based off of this pilot episode that's never been aired anywhere on TV, but it was apparently Fire Lord Ozai was jealous of Zuko, or potentially because Zuko could potentially was going to potentially be stronger than Fire Lord Ozai. So that's one of the reasons. This is alleged, right? This is one of the things, and it doesn't stick with the actual canon storyline. So Fire Lord Ozai, that's one of the reasons he banished Zuko, and he told Uncle Iroh, to actually teach Zuko improper forms of firebending so that he wouldn't reach his full potential. That was one of the storylines that thank goodness they didn't stick, right? It was thank goodness that's not what happened. What's another jump? So that was that in the pilot episode. Then let me see something else. Mm, apparently, allegedly. Nah, well, no. This one's actually not alleged. This one's actually not alleged. This actually came from one of the creators' accounts, and he actually told a whole story about this. So apparently, there's supposed to be a fourth season of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Apparently, allegedly, there's supposed to be a whole fourth season of Avatar: The Last Airbender, but they scrapped it to work on the movie. The movie was trash. The movie was trash. Now, thankfully, whatever came out on Netflix was actually decent, was actually better. So the movie was terrible, but with CGI and effects and all this stuff, they cleaned some of the stuff up with what came on the Netflix version. So on the Netflix version was really like they cleaned up the fire bending and they cleaned up all the bending. Because that's the main thing. We just need to see the bending. There needs to be no delays with certain stuff, and with the bending, that comes down to these are those types of things where it's like when it comes down like to actors and things like that, it was you're going to appreciate the actor who goes over to China or Tibet and who goes lives with the monks, learns their movements, there's waves and stuff like that. You're going to appreciate the actor or actress who does that because then it's like or who even just studies the show. You ain't got to go way over there, but that's the extra part. But at least studying the show to like master the movements of like with the bending and whatnot, because all of that's going to go to an effect. And then if it's not matching up, then it comes down to the people who do like the CGI, computer graphic, whatever CGI stand for. If the actor or actress is crushing it on the body movements of airbending, then it's on the CGI people to like make it match up. Because if they're bending and it look cool as if they're actually bending, then it's the CGI people. Because the rest of that stuff is whatever, right? And that needs to be very much in sync all the way, all the time. So it may be a little bit here and there, but as much as animators do match up with their sounds and effects and whatnot, then it's like there's no excuse for none of this stuff. Just make a good, clean, you know what I'm saying, show and whatnot. So, and apparently there's an Avatar movie coming out. Cinema. Absolute cinema. Apparently there's an Avatar movie coming out. Like, in soon. Soon. In less than a year. Because somebody in the comments was like, it's a movie coming out, and it was like 9 months away. So, either way, it was supposed to be in less than, probably supposed to get a movie. I'm not sure how old this video was. Anyway. So I watched the video on deleted scenes. But before that, I watched a video on, it was comparing Aang and Korra's skills. And so there were certain things that Aang just never did, and there were certain things that Korra just never did. And so it's like it's not visually shown in the show or anything like that. But let me see. I watched that video. So the first video I watched was it comparing their skills. Then I watched a couple shorts on, okay, who would be stronger? Would Aang be stronger or would Korra be stronger, like in an actual fight? Now, again, I haven't watched Legend of Korra. However, I did just glean from the comments. Now, from the comment section, one of the things that people were saying was that Aang is like, how do I explain Aang? They said he's a pacifist only because he's holding back so much power. That's what Aang comes across as. Whereas Korra, she's more like, how do I explain? Korra is more of, somebody had a good comment. The good comment was, Aang was a person. Darn it, bro! I should have whatchamacallit that comment. Aang was a person learning to become an avatar, and Korra was an avatar learning to become a person. It was something along the lines of like that. Aang was like a person, but learning to become the avatar, whereas Korra is an avatar learning to become a person, like a good person. Because like one of the things, like it showed this little clip. Like mind you, I've only seen clips from Korra, so they showed this clip, and it was, when they get on the little air balls, pause. But they get on the little air. You know, they make a little ball of air and they be racing on that. And Korra does it right. And Korra goes into the Avatar state just to like for whatever, and she changes and she does it just to win this little race or whatever, right? So it's like that's one of the things that like I hope that if you watch Avatar and it's like, why did she go into Avatar state just to do this little race on an air ball, you know? So like that's the thing. Um, and I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I already said it, but Aang is more of a pacifist. It seems that way because he's holding back so much power. So, um, and again, one of the things with Aang is that he had to master all of the elements in under a year, whereas had Korra was like 18 and still trying to master elements and whatnot. So, Korra, um, I think again I haven't seen that one, but Korra goes to visit I think masters like so she goes to visit like this master, or is that Aang? Aang has to seek out masters as well, but yeah, so like Aang picks up from Toph, he picks up from Katara. Yeah, so yeah, I think it's different. I think Korra has master benders that she like goes to like train with. There are no master benders when Aang is around. Like that's just not a like it's not a real thing. Somebody was like, King Boomy would like a word. King Boomy would like a word. But there's no master benders. So Aang doesn't have master benders. But one of the other things that what kept coming up was Toph. Toph was a literal genius. I'm a Toph and Azula fan. Oh, okay. Okay. I mentioned it, but I didn't all the way say it. This is a terrible. This is why he's like you should write your stuff out and then whatchamacallit. This I'm jumping between so many topics here. But I had mentioned the one part to say that there was supposed to be a fourth season of uh there's supposed to be a fourth season of Avatar. They stopped it for the movie. I did say that. But no. Yeah. Okay, there's supposed to be a fourth season of Avatar. They stopped it to work on the movie. The movie was trash. Whatever they did with Netflix was way better. But the fourth season, from what the creator was saying, was going to focus on Azula. I'm an Azula fan. Now, what he was saying was Azula was supposed to have a redemption arc. And so the way the creator, like he talks about it, you can kind of whatchamacallit. So basically Azula, hold on. Zuko was supposed to help Azula like get back to like, she's supposed to have a redemption arc on some like, the whole they're a villain and then they become like whatever. She's supposed to have one of those, and Zuko was supposed to help kind of sort of help her through that. And one of the things was because that's what Iroh did for Zuko. And, Zuko has that, is it forgiving or whatever? And like, whatever. Zuko has that, his character, whatchamacallit. So Zuko was supposed to help her get back to like whatever, right? These are things, stuff like this, these are where it's like, I don't know if it's the politics or, this or that. These are those types of things that prevent Avatar from, and when I say Avatar, I do not mean those blue people. These are the things that prevent Avatar from reaching the likes and the realms of Dragon Ball Z. Hopefully I can come back to that. Okay, let me just try to stick to the main point of the conversation. Avatar Aang versus Avatar Korra. Who do you think would be stronger? Who do you think is stronger? Who would, whatever. Now, again, I like the comments might say he's a pacifist because he's holding back so much power. One of the other things that people talk about a lot is that Korra she picked up her bending like in fighting. And so like that's a thing for her. Like she's much more aggressive in that regard, in that nature. Avatar Korra is much more aggressive, and she has to do a lot more fighting or whatever. So, That is a thing. She's way more aggressive, and Aang isn't. However, there were certain things that, as Aang precedes her, certain things that he like taught her. And, whether it was the taking away bending powers or, well, and I think, I'm not sure, but I think Aang was the first avatar that was taking away people's bending power. And I think he taught that to her too. And so, if a those are the type of things like he's the one that the first, and that all this other stuff. So, mentality wise, there's a whole thing about that, right? Aang is much more of a, I think that's one of the things about Aang. He's an escapist, right? And he's trying to always avoid his responsibilities, and he doesn't want to, I don't want to have to do this, and I don't want to have to fight. Whereas Azula is much more, no, no, not Azula. I mean, Korra, allegedly, I haven't seen it again. I'm making sure that I have not watched it, but Korra is much more aggressive and much more of a fighter and things like that. Now, the other thing they talk about is that there was no evidence of Aang ever metal bending. There was no evidence of Aang ever metal bending, but in Legend of Korra, she does it like while she's with I don't know what's going on, but she like does it. She just does it. Like she just does it. So that like she has some Avatar Korra has some like well, they both had natural, well, whatchamacallit, right? Aang picked up a lot of stuff easy, right? Aang picked a lot, well, when it came to earthbending and whatnot. Um, the only reason, and I like how some people had made another point, it was like, the only reason Aang just doesn't like max out on certain stuff is like when he was firebending, he, somebody had made a really great point. Because when Aang was firebending, the only reason he doesn't really like, you know, like, there's a couple things like, okay, with the firebending, he didn't just go crazy with it too much because, he hurt Katara that first time. So he was like, oh, hurting Katara and this and that. Like, he didn't really, like, he didn't rock with firebending. He accidentally hurt Katara while he was firebending. So that's why he just don't really go crazy with it. Now, he has this negative connotation about it, and with the Fire Nation, da da da. But he nice with it or whatever. It's cool. Also, even though he never, really try, or it's shown that him trying to ever really do the whole electricity bending, lightning bending, his first time he ever, whatchamacallit, he does effectively redirect his first time. So that lets you know, like, even though he never, whatchamacallit, he really could have, like, it wasn't nothing for him. So, like, that was, like, he did the whole lightning bending, like, redirecting at least. Um, and so I think that's another thing. We never really saw Aang like OP, overpowered. The original post. OP, I don't even know if OP stand for overpowered or original post. Anyway, it depends on the context. So we never saw Aang OP. Like, so this is what somebody said. When Aang goes into the avatar state, he is the danger. Korra going into the avatar state was, I forget what they said about danger, but Aang was the danger. When Avatar when Aang went to the Avatar state, oh, he was about, yeah, some shit was going on, bro. That he was about to, you know what I'm saying? So I forget how they tried to like phrase it, but it was like when Aang is in the Avatar state, he's the danger. And I'm not sure. Again, I haven't watched Korra, but Aang, no, I think the comment basically was saying like when Korra is in the Avatar state, she's trying to protect them from danger. But when Aang is in the Avatar state, he is the danger. Yeah. So, there was only the only thing that Korra, and these, like, again, these are like what's shown, right? And so then there's other parts of like inferencing. It was never shown to us Aang metal bending, but it's like, you don't think Toph would have taught him that? Like, you don't think Toph would have taught him that? That's one. And then, mind you, everybody that came up under Toph, the next set of benders that came up under Toph and whatnot, like, Toph was a literal genius. You know how many times I've read, you know how many people have said that in the comments? Toph was a literal genius. Toph was a literal genius, bro. Toph is one of my favorite characters. I need to make a shirt for Azula. I'm an Azula fan, and I'm a Toph fan. Those are my favorite characters. Anyway, Um, the only thing that it showed that oh, they show Avatar Korra metal bending. You don't really see Aang metal bending. That was one. And then uh there was a couple other things that like they showed this other scene where it's like Aang and Toph and I forget. I think they're like invading or they're going to do something, but there's like no words, and so it's like the synchronicity of them and their powers and just like, yeah, we about to go fuck shit up right now. Like you know how some stuff has like a game plan, and this and the third. Toph and Aang, no game plan. It's just like feeding off each other's energy. Oh, you just did this. All right, boom. I gotta go do this. And like just the whole, and it's all earthbending. So that it was just fucking shit up in a good way. Um, so there's that. But they don't show you don't see Aang metal bending, but then they do have like Korra metal bending. And then Korra has this other thing. I watched what did I watch? I watched something about I think it was Korra based. Oh, it was about the first Avatar. How did the first Avatar come to be? It was that. I watched a thing about how did the first Avatar come to be, and I did not. It comes up in Korra a lot more with the whole spirit realm thing. Korra does something about opening a portal. Like she opens some portal to the spirit realm. There's one. Korra does that, and they was like they never saw him do that. Then, but the whole design of the spirit, and this is only what I got from watching how did the first Avatar come to be. But the whole design of the spirit was just not like I didn't like the design of the spirit, that type of thing. Yeah, I didn't like the design of the spirits. But apparently, Korra does a lot more spirit bending. Korra does a lot more spirit bending. That was just from a little bit of that I watched from, today or whatever. Why am I using? I want to use this right now. Oh, well, my hand's a little ashy. Not a little ashy. They a lot ashy. I like the hand sanitizer that got some or I like the hand. Any whatchamacallit that also moisturizes and cleans. I like that. That's nice. That's a nice touch. That's a nice touch. All right, let me do a little more. Let me put it on the back of the hand. Rub that in there. My hand ashy, bro. My hand ashy, bro. All right, I will not be streaming the Super Bowl. I need people to keep me up to date on what's going on. Hopefully by 7:00 there has been a kickoff. Bro, that when I jam about the Super Bowl, bro, like Drewski over there. Okay, let me focus on Avatar right now. But my hands is ashy. Get his ash off my hand. Okay, let's answer the question though. Who do you think, right? Based off of what I kind of sort of know and have seen, based off what I've seen, I can change my answer later until I get more information. Right now, I'm not fully advised. Not fully advised. What would be my original answer? What I would think. Now the reason that this is also whatchamacallit, and I was actually also glad to I did see I saw two videos, right? And they actually gave different answers. So somebody said Korra, and then somebody said Aang. Like those are two different answers. I like that. And so it's like, well, which one? Oh. Stanley, the creator of Spider-Man, can answer this question for you. Who wins? Avatar Aang or Avatar Korra? At their peak, at their prime, who do you think would win? Whoever the writer wants to win. If the writer wants Avatar Aang to win, Avatar Aang wins. If the writer wants Avatar Korra to win, Avatar Korra wins. Whoever the writer wants to win. Stan Lee actually said this. Stan Lee actually said this. But he's basically saying it, and it encompasses everything and all things and whatever you want to talk about. Stan Lee basically said, "Oh, who's gonna win? Spider-Man versus Superman? Who wins? The Hulk versus the Thing. Whoever the writer wants to win." All right. Now that was said, that's the official answer. So it's whoever the writer wants to win between Aang and Korra. Now, based off what was whatchamacallit though, now again, one of the main reasons that people say that Avatar Korra will win is because she's more aggressive. The main reason that most people say that Avatar Korra wins is because she's more aggressive. Now, Aang, again, prodigy. He didn't learn from the masters. It was him, Katara, and Toph. I'm not trying to whatchamacallit, but I don't care for Sokka. I'm not about to, he's not a bender. I'm not about to whatchamacallit. I'm not about to, it's irrelevant to this conversation. But Korra learned from masters. Aang had to pick shit up. Aang had a much more, he had a different experience with the whole thing. And Aang had to teach her. Apparently, I didn't watch the job, but in the series or whatever, Aang teaches her the whole how to take people's bending powers away. Oh man, I'm trying to I don't know Korra. I don't know Korra, man. I just don't know Korra. But when somebody said that when Aang goes into the Avatar state, he is the danger. Bro, you seen when they took Appa? When they stole Appa, bro? Bro. Aang. Let me see. Who's stronger? You comparing one Avatar to another, man. I don't know. If is the to make it the case for Aang, if you had to watch the fight, right? If you knew and this is how whatchamacallit, right? Avatar Korra is gonna be way more aggressive. It's like, with the Floyd Mayweather thing, you gotta in boxing, the goal of boxing is to not get hit. So literally if they hit you, that's because it's your fault if they hit you. Right? So Aang has that, all right, bro, you have to always push Aang to the limit. You have to push Aang to the limit. Now, if Aang is going up against Korra, I don't know Korra's personality for real. Come on, what's Korra's? This is why I gotta watch the show. I don't know Korra's personality for real. Oh no. I just don't know her personality. I'm just going off people's comments. They say she's just more aggressive. In my mind, it would go similar to how the Fire Lord Ozai fight went, I feel like she would get a lot of good shots in and whatnot. And then when Aang is ready to just go ahead and end this thing, he gonna go ahead and end this thing. That's what Aang vibes always. Just like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and end this thing now. When Aang tries and he's like, all right, bro, I'm tired. I gotta go ahead and end this thing. Because usually it's, he's like, he needs to figure out how he can do it his way without actually, whatever. Yeah, I think Aang wins. think Aang wins. I think Aang wins, bro. Because it's only him. It's only a matter of time till he's like, okay, this is what I want to do. Because he has a way of doing things, and so then it's like, all right. Because it's usually he's avoiding trying to do something, and then it's like, all right, this is how I'm going to do it, and do it in this way. Like that's what I'm saying. Like with Fire Lord Ozai, it was all right. Now I got you. This one I'm gonna do. I'm taking away your bending powers. He's I ain't want to have to take your life, but you yeah, and I just think from whatchamacallit has been shown, ain't from what it seems as if Aang has way more mastery of the elements, whereas Korra, it just seems she has more like she can do some cool things, or like they both can do cool things, but Aang just seems to have more mastery of it, cause he had to he had to go to all the. Oh, okay. Like how the first Avatar came to be. The first Avatar came to be with the whole lion turtles. They had to go to the lion turtle, and the lion turtle had to the lion turtle had to give the bending power to the person. And so Aang visits all the lion turtles. Well, the first Avatar does. But Aang has way more interactions, and Aang has a much more raw, natural experience with bending the elements than I think Korra does. You know what I'm saying? Again, Aang didn't have masters, he had prodigies. Korra has masters. And so, and mind you, Aang at the age of 12, plus 100, at the age of 12, Aang mastered all the elements in less than a year. He had to, but still. Korra was grown. Korra grown and still trying to learn how to master the air. No, it's not happening. It's not happening. Aang wins. Aang wins. It's him winning is just him just like, all right, at some point we have to end this, and I'm gonna have to end this how I want to end it. But yeah, Aang has a much more, like, Aang saw the lion turtles, and he has much over understanding. Aang, I just feel like Aang has a much more understanding of the raw, natural way to bend elements. Yes. Like, even remember he had to go to the one guy, and they had to do the whole the he had chakras blocked, and he had to like unblock the chakras, and the whole energy flowing thing. Like, Aang has a much more raw understanding of bending elements and chakras and energy than Korra does. But again, I have not watched Korra, but this is what I'm saying. I would think Aang has a much more raw, natural, a bit like, because he learned that, like, he had to like he learned the raw, natural way to bend elements. Korra went to masters and things like that, and it's a different time and understand, like, and also his training was expedited. Hers is much more elongated, and she has to do much more fighting, and she's able to pick up stuff and while she's learning through fighting. Like, there was this one clip, she like she starts airbending mid-fight. She starts airbending mid-fight, like, so those are like whatchamacallits that are, and it's different in a sense, but like Aang, let's see, firebending, he, like, again, Aang is always holding back. So like firebending, he held back because he accidentally hurt Katara. Earth was one of his that was the opposite sign for him. But okay, that's what they said. But then somebody also said that the toughest element for Korra to learn was air. But that was because, again, she was much more aggressive, and the airbending will require her much more, nuance, flow, is more defensive. Airbending is much more defensive, is not as aggressive, and this and the third, which is why they said that Korra's toughest element was the airbending, whereas Aang, his toughest element was the earth. I think, well, yeah, to learn or whatever. What element am I not talking too much about? Air, earth, water. I haven't talked too much about water. Yeah, Aang is much more. Mm, and again, as an avatar, right? There should be no limit into what they can do and learn, right? So that's why, in one sense, it like the actual way to sit there and kind of whatchamacallit is they because they're avatars. There's no limit into what they can learn and the techniques they can learn. It's a matter of them just doing it in there, and that's when it comes down to like techniques, which is why I think that Aang will win because um like they show this one thing where like Toph gives herself like this earth coat, and then they showed it another version where Aang does the little, but he gives himself an ice coat. But that's after watching Toph do the whatchamacallit. So like Aang can sit there, he can do pretty much anything. And like Aang always gave the vibe of, even when he was like, when Katara was teaching him certain things and this and that third, Aang always gave the vibe. Like that was a whole part of him when he was like a young kid. He always gave the vibe of, oh, you just did that, I can do it and do it way 10 times better. Like he always gave a, he sees it once and he can just do it and do it in any context and under whatever, just because he Aang never gave like that he was struggling for real, for real. It was all Aang always gave it. It just seemed that way, right? Aang was always giving the impression that I'm just gonna try it out and I'm not gonna whatchamacallit and not try to do too well at it. But he always gave like, yeah, I'm already a master at this, and all I gotta do is see it once, and I'm just gonna. You see what I'm saying? Like I can take, yo, you just did this. Like I said, the whole thing with the when he saw Toph give herself like the earth coat. I'm gonna do it. Give myself an ice coat. Give myself a fire coat. I'm gonna give myself like he can just start doing whatever and just make it 10 times whatever. So, um, Korra, the only thing that I had seen or even gleaned from the comments was that Korra's aggressive and she did more spirit bending, which is a whole nother the whatchamacallit. And so that's one of those. If Aang doesn't have to, why would he try to or anything like that? Um, Aang has way more. He's just a prodigy. He's just way more prodigy vibes, like way more just whatever. Yeah, Korra. I'm gonna have to watch more, but as of right now, I would think I'm siding with Aang. They said Korra because she's way more aggressive, but yeah, I don't think the aggression part is going to beat Aang in that sense. Again, they're both avatars, so technically anything one does, the other one can do. And anything one does, the other one can do. So then it comes down to like skill and technique. And I just think that her constantly trying to attack Aang, we've never like in any whatchamacallit, you never really see that work out for the person. Them constantly on attack. And with that being said, if she's always on attack mode, like I said, Aang can pick up anything she can do. Aang can just, oh, okay, that's what you just did. I can like he can just pick up on mad different stuff, like even within mid fight and mid battle or whatever. She does too, but I think just you know, concept vibe wise, she can go on the offensive, like attacking, attacking, attacking. Aang is slip, bob, weave. All right, and you know what I'm saying? It's like okay, let's go ahead and end this. Just take her down. You know. That's all I think. That's how I just think that's how it kind of should go. And with that being said, there was this one girl. She was like, it was this little baby, and they would give her the whatchamacallit, and she would pick the whatchamacallit, but that team always ended up losing. No. Yes, that team always ended up losing. So whoever she picked, that team was gonna lose, not win. So that means they would make Korra win. Just to piss off the audience. So that's the other part. If if it actually came down to a you got peak prime Aang versus peak prime Korra, who would win? Korra would win because most people would think that Aang would win. It's going to be like Batman versus Superman. We all know that Superman should win, but the whole illusion is that Batman won. Right. So then we sit here and debate about it and talk about it for like, oh my goodness, Batman won. Is that type of thing. So it would be the same vibe. It would be, you know goodness well that Aang would win, should win, but they would make Korra win because that's not who's supposed to win, and then we would sit there and argue about it. That's how in a movie, if it was a movie, if it was a whatever, and it's just this one-off show, they would make Korra win because that's not who's supposed to win. It's like with the betting, they're all gonna bet that Aang wins. Make it go the other way so that they lose the bets and the money. It's that. Duh. Okay, that was not a hard debate. That was that. This is why I also titled it convo, not a debate. It's a monologue. The Avatar monologue. Okay. Say all that to say after 40 minutes that in conversation we all know Aang would win. On paper, Aang would win. We all know that on this and that, boom, boom, boom. But if you're going to make a show, if you're going to make a cartoon, if you're going to make a movie, if you're going to do anything and you have to put it out, Korra has to win because everybody thinks that Aang's going to win. We don't do ties. It has to be a clear winner. A tie